Hey everybody, Neil Malik with Knack Training here, bringing another everyday office video. And in today's video, I want to show you how these 5 functions, left, right, mid, find, and len, work together to allow you to break up effectively any set of data that's written into a single cell that you want. As long as there's some sort of pattern that you can see, you should be able to pull the information out. Now, a little disclaimer here, we're going to run into a situation where we could have different types of addresses. For example, you see here all these addresses are street address, city, state, zip code, and none of them have things like a suite number or an apartment number, that sort of additional component between the street address and the city. If you want to see how to handle that problem, go back and watch 2 videos earlier in my stream. The first one is about using the substitute and len function together in order to pull out the number of commas or spaces that there are in a specific set of content. The second one is the one about UDFs, user-defined functions. It basically allows you to create a function that reproduces that functionality. But for right now, we're going to assume that all the addresses that we're having to deal with here are street, city, state, zip. And we have left, right, mid, find, and len to pull these things apart. Now, left and right, you can kind of assume are related to one another, right? It's pretty straightforward. The left function says if you start on the left side of the text, we can go in from the left. And the right function says we can start from the right side of the text and go in. Now here, it's actually very easy to see which one is the easiest one to use, because zip codes in the United States of America are always 5 digits. So I should be able to start from the right side of the text and just say, hey, get me the last 5 digits off of this, and that should be the zip code. Let's try that out. Here in cell F3, I can use $right, and as you can see, it asks me for 2 pieces of information. Where's the content that you're interested in? And if I start from the right, how many characters in should I go? So the content is over here in cell B3, comma. I want you to grab the last 5 characters because those 5 characters are the 5 digits of the zip code. Just like that, I get 85004, and I can double click the little bottom right hand corner here to autofill this down for the remainder of all the zip codes. Super easy to do here. So the right function, if I have a situation like this where the right side of the content is always the same length, is the easiest possible solution. Left, on the other hand, that's going to be a little bit more difficult, because everybody's street addresses are different lengths. 215 4th Avenue is a different length from 33 Shoreline Boulevard, is a different length from 1225 Northwest 1733rd Boulevard. And so what we need to do is we need to determine what the pattern is for figuring out what the end of the street address is. So this is very easy to do. If your data entry people have done everything appropriately, it's probably the comma after the street's name. So I can go over here to cell C3, and using the left function, I'm going to go in from the left-hand side. But I know that I can't tell it exactly how many characters the street address is going to be because I need to be flexible. This is where the additional function called find comes into play. Using the find function, we can say, okay, tell me where the comma is, and when you find me the comma, go ahead and grab me all the way up until that point. Let's see those 2 things working together. To make it as easy as possible to see, I'm going to actually pop open the Formulas tab at the top of the screen, use my text drop-down menu, and start the left function. Okay, so the left function asks the same question the right function did. Where's my text and how many characters am I interested in? The text is in cell B3, but here's where we run into the problem. The number of characters is indeterminate. Indeterminate? Undetermined? I don't know, whatever. So here is where we use find open parentheses. Now, if you've never nested functions together before, here's an easy way to use the nested function here within Excel. Once you type in the name of the function you want to use and then the open parentheses, take your mouse, click on the word find right up here in the formula bar, and now the function arguments dialog box has switched over to being about the find function. All right, so the text that I would like to find is a comma. However, commas are very common inside of functions, so I need to put in quotation marks, comma, close quotation marks to tell Excel, hey, this thing I'm telling you about, this comma, it actually is literally a comma. Just look for the comma. And of course, the place where that comma will be is over here in cell B3. Now, this is where it gets a little bit interesting. If you notice in that street address, of course, there's a comma after Avenue, and there's also a comma after Phoenix. And what's going to happen here is right now the find function is going to find the first comma. In a little bit, we're going to be interested in where the second comma is as well, but we don't have that yet. So let's leave off the start number, because right now what the find function will do is just find where the first comma is. Now, this is where a lot of people get themselves into trouble. It's a very common feeling to now go ahead and hit enter or hit OK down here in the bottom right hand corner. Don't do that. What you want to do now is remember that you've gone over to the find function. You've messed around with the find function. You need to go back to the left function. So you take your mouse and you come up here to the formula bar. You click on the word left up in the formula bar. And this is the little tweak that it confuses people sometimes, but let's just pay attention to what's going on here. If you were to sit down and count this out, you would find out that 215 4th Avenue, period, is 15 characters, and that the comma is the 16th character. And we don't want to include the comma as part of the street address. So what we do when we use this left find combination together is then we use -1 to say do not include the comma, because you're finding where the comma is, but I'm actually not interested in going all the way to the comma. Another way to do this, of course, in this scenario would be to look for the period, but you have to be sure that they're always writing in the period after the abbreviated street name, and that's not always going to happen. So it's probably smarter to look for the comma and then come one step back from the comma and just say everything up until that comma. I hit OK, and I autofill this down by putting my mouse in the bottom right-hand corner of the cell and double-clicking. And there it is. Those are all my street addresses. So now we've used right by itself. We've used left in combination with find. Now let's use mid. And let's use mid on an easy one. State is really easy in this pattern because, of course, states right here are always 2 characters, and they always are followed by a space and then the 5 digits of the zip code. Because of that, I should be able to use a very simple pattern to figure out where the AZ is. So let's go here to state, and let's use the mid function. I go to the Formulas tab, go to the Text drop-down menu, and I grab mid. Left and right, obviously left side of the content, right side of the content, and now mid, jump into the middle of the content somewhere. So it asks me where the text is. Of course, that's cell B3. It's been B3 for all these exercises. But this is where it gets a little bit interesting. Now, I can go over here to the number of characters, and I can fill this in. I know how many characters there are. There's 2, right? But let's figure out what the start number should be. I told you this pattern is actually super easy to understand. There's 5 digits for the zip code. There's a space before that. And then before that is the 2 characters, the states. So what you should be able to do is the following. You should be able to take the length, the full length of this text, and just subtract 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right? That should be how you figure out where the A is. And luckily for us, we have this additional function over here called len, right? Len is length. So I use L-E-N, and open the parentheses. Remember what I did a second ago? I come up here, I click on len up in the formula bar, and it says, okay, I can tell you what the length of that text is. Just tell me what text you're interested in. I'm interested in cell B3. There are 34 characters in cell B3. Now I go back and click on mid. Now I don't want to start at the end of this, so I want to take the length of cell B3 and I want to subtract the zip code. So let's subtract the zip code first. -5, right? And let's say I'm going to do 2 characters here. Notice what it says. Okay, if you take the length of what's in cell B3, you subtract 5, and you tell me to grab 2 characters, I'm going to grab you the space and the 8. Okay, that's pretty close, right? Okay, so there was a space before the zip code, so now it's -6. Oh, now we have the Z at the end of Arizona and the space after the Z. So now we do 7, and there it is. If you take the full length of the text, you subtract 5 characters for the zip code and 2 more to back all the way up to the first character in Arizona, or the first character in California, or the first character in Minnesota or Missouri. It'll grab you the state. Number of characters, again, 2, because every state is a 2-character abbreviation. And I hit OK, and I autofill down. Bada bing. So now we've used right by itself, because zip codes are simple. We've used left combined with find to figure out where the first comma is. And we've used mid together with len because state is easy to pattern. We knew that it was 2 characters right before the zip code. But city is complicated. With city, what we have to do is say, a city is after the first comma and then before the second comma. It's whatever falls between the first comma and the second comma. So we're going to have to find the first comma and find the second comma as part of the mid function. So follow me with this. Cell D3, Formulas tab, top of the screen, text drop-down menu. I go here to mid because I'm jumping into the middle of the content. And of course the text is in cell B3. Now here's where it gets complicated. Where should we start? You should start where the comma is. Well, not the comma, not the space, but the P after the space, after the comma. So we use the find function. We open parentheses. Come up here, click on the word find. And we say we're finding quotation marks, comma, close quotation marks within cell B3. And it tells me, okay, that's the 16th character. Come back up and click on mid in the formula bar right up here at the top. Okay, that's good, but it's not there yet. I don't want to find the comma. I don't want to find the space after the comma. I want to find the P after the space. So that's +2. That is the starting position of Phoenix, of Foster City, of Minneapolis, and of St. Louis. And now comes the real fun. How many characters are in the city's name? I should be able to take the position of the second comma and subtract the position of the first comma, and then subtract 1 more for that extra space that's in there. So, find, open parentheses. That's the beginning. Come up here, click on the word find in the formula bar. Find the quote, comma, quote within cell B3. But here's the problem. I don't want to find the first comma. I want to find the second comma. Ooh, how do I find the second comma? I tell it to do a start number past the first comma. So I put in find, open parentheses in the start number box. And I come up here and I click on find and I say, find me the quote, comma, quote within the text cell B3. And then I come back and I click on this find. Okay, so find the comma within text cell B3, starting at position 16. Well, let's go +1 to go past that. And you see that right there? By finding the comma and then going one past it and then saying find the comma, it says, oh, okay, so you're talking about the comma that's in position 25. Yes, that's what we're looking for. Now I come back up here to the top and click back on mid. Okay, so the number of characters is if you find the second comma, subtract, find, open parentheses, and I'm just going to do it right here in this box. Quote, comma, B3, close parentheses. Notice right there, it's almost there. You see how close it is? Phoenix, comma, space. So I just do a little -2 to clean that up. There it is. So I took the position of the second comma, subtracted the position of the first comma. That left some slop, right? It left a space in there. So let's go ahead and trim that space out. That's the little -2 right there. And I click OK, and I autofill down. And there it is. Phoenix, Foster City, Minneapolis, St. Louis, etc. That one, that's ugly, but you can find it as long as you can understand the pattern. Also, look into flash fill in Excel 2013 and 16. If you've got it, it might be a whole lot more fun than trying to follow that function right there.